myICLUB.com. The file storage area is a function of that subscription website for investment clubs that allows you to share files amongst members and also serves as a storage location for the important documents and stock research that your club generates. So we're going to be talking about some of the features that we've added in the not too distant past to enhance the file storage, as well as the basic functionality of that part of the myICLUB website. So here we are in the file storage area, and it probably looks a little bit like this. Across the top, there are some columns. There are some folders on the left indicated by the triangles. There are files within them. There's a lot of instructions. If you flip over to the myICLUB website, click on the file storage tab at the top, and you'll access your club's private file storage area. And so there we have it. The file storage area has 250 megabytes of storage for your investment club, and we've been increasing that as we go. So while it's important for you to manage your files so they're not excessively large, we don't think that for most cases the documents that you'll be storing are not going to fill up that file storage area too fast. Now you can organize the file storage using folders that you create and that you organize within your club. You can also make individual files public or keep them private. So that is a function that we'll talk about as well. It's a great place to distribute and archive files for your investment club. And as more and more clubs are going paperless, going digital, the file storage area is a great place for you to store your account statements, your year-end statements, your tax returns, your meeting minutes, your stock research, your SSG files. So all sorts of things can be saved in the file storage area. So first of all, not everyone in your club has access to every aspect of the file storage area. Obviously, it might not be prudent to allow any member of your club to delete files from the file storage area. And so as a result, we allow you to set permissions by member to allow members to upload files, delete files, create and delete folders, make files public. That section is in the People tab. The club administrator is able to set permissions for each member. So for instance, the default is that all members can upload files, but only those who are designated can delete files that have been uploaded by other members and create and delete folders. So this allows you to figure out who's going to be in charge of your file storage area. In the file storage main page, the amount of space that you're using appears in the top right. So that's very straightforward and allows you to see how much of your allotment you're using at any point in time. So any member can create and delete folders as long as they have that appropriate permission. So the club administrator has permission throughout the site. Usually there's an officer such as a secretary, maybe the president and the secretary and the administrator have the ability to, if your treasurer is uploading files and wants to be able to manage a particular area, you could allow them to have access as well. So again, we don't recommend that every member have the ability to create and delete folders because you know that somebody is going to do something accidentally that has bad ramifications for the club. So make sure that you think it through, who's got the right permission. You can always add permission later as people's roles are changing. As to how you organize your files in the file storage area, here is one possible framework to have a folder of your operating documents where you put your partnership agreement, your bylaws, your investment policy statement, your operating procedures. Maybe you have your new member procedures in that folder or another folder. The files that don't change very often archived there and accessible for all members to review. Many clubs create a new folder for each year. and then they archive that folder at the end of the year. So you can add your minutes, your financial reports, your account statements into a single folder for a particular year. Now, I like to suggest using a consistent file name, and the file name format that I use by default is the 4-digit year, followed by a dash, then the 2-digit month, and then perhaps the 2-digit day. And so the advantage of this is that when I sort files, you can see what's oldest, what's newest, the month that it was created, not necessarily the month that it was uploaded or the date that it was modified. And so follow the file name after that. So a structure like that is something that I think can be very useful in trying to let this file storage area be managed and not get so unwieldy. And then at the end of the year, the clubs would move that folder into an archived folder that's kept out of the way. And remember, you can do things like put an X or an underscore or another character in front of the folder names, and that can force an alphabetical structure that you might not get if you simply you relied on the folder labels themselves, and that will help you organize that page. The current research, that would be a folder where you would put in current stock studies that you're looking at, portfolio reports, research reports, and also I always suggest having a watch list folder where you look at a company, you look at a stock, you've got an SSG, the company isn't in the buy zone, but the club likes it a lot. Or maybe it overlaps too much with another holding in terms of portfolio diversification objectives, and so you're putting that those files into the watch list provides a means by which the club can kind of manage and not completely forget about those stocks when opportunities might arise. So all of your club members and your visitors can view and download all the files in the file storage area, and you can't prohibit access to file storage, at least not right now. But anyone who is not a member or visitor of your club can only view and file those files that have been specifically set for public access. So that is a function that you are able to utilize. And we'll talk about that public access in a minute. So who can add files? Well, any member who's got that upload files permission can add files to file storage. And so that's given by default. But the club member can take it away. So if you've got someone who's got big fat fingers and is constantly putting things in the wrong place or hitting the wrong button, maybe you want to restrict who can add files to the file storage area. So again, we give you the flexibility to figure out for your club what works best. Now, to that end, no member can delete files unless they've got the appropriate delete files permission. However, any member can upload the files that he or she's uploaded to the website. So if someone uploads something by mistake, they can correct it instead of talking to the administrator and say, oh, I uploaded the wrong file, can you delete it for me? So a member can delete the files that he or she has uploaded. Bonnie says, if you delete a file by mistake, can you get it back? And the answer is no. There's no archive or recycle bin functionality there. So if the file has been deleted, then it is gone. But I will talk about a way that you can back up the files in the file storage area, and that might be something that you can work into your operating procedures as well.
Doug, I just wanted to add, when you go to delete, it's not a one-step process, it's a two, so you do get a warning, do you really want to delete this? So, you really have to be a little clumsy to delete it when you don't want it, because you'll get two chances to stop.
Yeah, we tend to build in some roadblocks whenever it's possible for someone to do something that could have terrible ramifications, like deleting a file or deleting data from the club's website. So we do tend to build in that double verification just to make sure that you don't do it. But as we said, the files are not deleted. Once you delete the file, they are gone forever. But that might be a function that we can add in the future, sort of a recycle bin that files get deleted into, and then we can empty that every 30 days, or you can empty it on your own to get rid of files. So I'll make a note of that. That might be a good feature. On the file storage section, there's a series of columns of data. There's the name, followed by, and if that name is in bold text, that is a folder, and then there's parentheses next to them that indicate the number of files and folders contained in that folder, but not files in folders that are in the folders, if that makes sense. It includes the last date that the file was modified, the member who created, uploaded the file, the size, and there are links to rename or to move the file into another section. And then we have a public files toggle, so you can toggle files from private to public and then back again. And I'll show you how that works. Here on the is a real live view of it. You can see here are the operating documents. There are two of them, the bylaws and the partnership agreement, and the modified date is over here. They've been created by me. Here's the size, and there's an edit, a little pencil there for the edit link. And are they public? In this case, these are private files. There's nothing in that area, so those are not public files. If I wanted to make them public, I could do that by, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. We'll take a look at that. And so again, we can click to expand and collapse the folders to see the files that are in them. So it is, once you understand how this collapsing menu system works, it's pretty intuitive to navigate through. And again, we can add folders within folders. Within folders, you can really structure it how it works best for your needs. There is a navigation panel on the left side that has some additional actions to add a folder, add a file, or to download all the files, and I'll talk about that. And there is navigation across the bottom to add a folder, add a file, delete checked files, or set the files as public or private. Now, the menus, importantly, are the same for all users, so not everyone may have the ability to add a new file or add a new folder, but they still see the menu option. They would get a message that says you do not have access to that functionality. So just keep that in mind. So when you're moving around, I mentioned clicking on the triangles to open the folders, and then if we want to, we can click on a file to view it. So we've got stock research here. So if I click on a file, it gets downloaded. In this case, it's a toolkit SSG. So I'm going to go ahead and click, open it in Toolkit, and here is the ITK file that was in the club website. So I was able to take a look at that. So to add a new file, click to add a new file, and then select, choose your file. So click on the choose file button. You can add a file description. So the file name, the name of the actual file on your computer, doesn't really matter. You can rename it yourself with that file description, and you can select the folder that you upload it into, then click the upload button. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. You can also remove and rename and move folders, so you can create a new name for the folder and or move it to a new folder. So that option, pretty intuitive, pretty straightforward. There is a delete folder option at the top right. So once you've opened a folder, that delete option appears if you have the option, permissions to do it, you can delete that file. And again, those files, once they're deleted, they are deleted. There is nothing that you can do about it. So you can see here we are. Once I click into the operating documents folder, you can see over here is the delete folder button. If I click it, it says, please confirm the deletion of the folder and all the subfolders and the files. So I'm just gonna cancel that, go back. But you can see I've got our documents, I've got the description below, so you do have some opportunity to clarify what those information is. We can move those files as well. So you've got a lot of flexibility there. This is just a reminder about my naming convention that I like to use, so you can see how it can really keep things clear. And the important thing is that you name the files and use the description that makes sense and consistent across the site, and that will allow you to find things pretty easily. Our toolkit files already have a common file format when you export them, and so that gives you a lot of information. They're exported in this format of ticker, then the username in the program, then year, a 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, .itk. And so that helps it, respecting that file format can help you find things as you go. If you're downloading files, members must have the appropriate software to read files such as PDF. The SSGs or ITKs can be read in Toolkit 6, and you can upload those ITKs to SSG Plus now, the doc or Excel files, etc. So it is possible, and we've covered this before, to get and now all of the Microsoft Office tools and browsers allow you to save files as PDF. And that can be a very easy way to make sure that everyone can access the information in a particular file by using the PDF format, and every computer today has a PDF reader on it as well. You can get PDF reader apps for mobile devices and tablets, so think about that before you upload a Word file. Not every user in your club may have Microsoft Office and might not be able to access that Word file. So the private public function allows you to set some files to be accessible by the general public, and then anyone who has your club's unique link, which looks something like this, would be able to view the public files and in a particular folder. So that's useful to have a an about us document or information about joining our club, something like that, where you might be able to send this link to people who are interested in joining. They can come download the appropriate information, read it if they want, and that would have information about the next step in joining our club. So that's something that you can utilize. It is not the default is obviously that all files are private. So this is only if you wish to take advantage of it. Now, note that all folder names are viewable when you view your club's file storage area from the public perspective, but they can't see any of the contents. So just keep that in mind as you're if you're using this public format in any kind of major way. We do suggest that you keep the file size of files small to maximize storage. If for a simple Word document of text, Microsoft Word is a much larger file than a simple text file. Yes, it doesn't have all the fancy formatting, but maybe that doesn't matter so much. And I do a lot of note taking in just a notepad application, and that works for me. So that might be something that you can consider. You can save as many ITK and SSG files as you want. Those are very small, and the PDFs that are created tend to be on the small size as well. Now we have a file takeout feature that we've added to the website. Periodically, we suggest that you move inactive files and folders to an archives folder that you create or delete them altogether. But we do have a file takeout function. This allows you to download all of the files in your club's file storage area in a single zip file. So this is especially useful when the club shuts down, because in one click, you've got all of the documents, and multiple members might have copies of those, so you've got archives in different places that for future reference, if you need them, that information's available. But that can also be part of your club's regular backup procedures to back up your file storage area along with your accounting data, because it is not included when you export your club accounting data. So that can be part of a sound strategy to protect your club data, is to also protect all of your club's documents. And that it could include account statements, that could include your reports, your meeting minutes. Some clubs are very diligent about storing all of their digital documents in their club's website. That means all members can access them, and that sort of transparency is a good thing. But having a redundant backup strategy in that case can be especially useful, and the file takeout feature will enable that. So over here on the left column, you will see the download all files as a zip. So just click on that, and the download initiates. And in this case, it's a very small file storage area. So if I click, it'll open, and you can see the same file structure here: operating documents, and stock research, and watch list with a couple of SSG files in it. So that can be a very, very useful useful function that a lot of people are not aware of. Christian says, how much space of storage do we have available? Again, go back to the main file storage menu, and you'll see it here on the top left. In this case, 8% is used of 250 megabyte. That 250 megabyte is the allotment for all clubs. And again, we do increase it over time. If you have a valid reason for storing larger files, you can let us know, and we can generally accommodate them. We just don't want to be a file sharing service where people are uploading very large files because we're just not equipped for that. So in terms of our function as an investment club operations support tool, that is probably plenty of room for most investment clubs to utilize. Richard asks if the file takeout includes archived files. So yes, it includes anything in your file storage area that has not been deleted. If it's been deleted, it's not included. It doesn't include your free resources folder and the taxes folder, and I'm going to talk about those next. But this would include, if we created, I'll go ahead and add an archives folder. So I'm going to call it archives. And I'm going to put a little X in front of it, and that way you'll see it shows up at the bottom of my file list. So you can play around and figure out kind of what makes sense. Maybe I don't want my operating documents, again, to be up at the top. I want the stock research to be up at the top. So you can figure out how the alphabetization works and what makes sense for a label. So yeah, it's misspelled, but it also now puts the archives down below. So if I decide I want to move things into that archives folder, that would be included in the file takeout. So the special taxes folder and files are where your club's completed tax returns are located automatically if they've been generated through the myICLUB tax return modules. So this folder, you might not have one if you're a new club or if you've not generated your tax returns through myICLUB, But the first time that you generate your returns and you finalize those returns using myICLUB, that taxes folder is created. And you can see in this example, there's 4 years worth of federal tax return modules, and those are PDFs, and those are governed by the same permissions that govern the taxes tab itself, which is to say that if you're the treasurer and you click on a tax return in the file storage tab, you see the complete return, including member K1s, including Social Security numbers. If you are a member and you click the a tax return link in the taxes folder in the file storage area, you don't see other members' K1s, and you don't see other members' Social Security numbers. But you see the club's the rest of the return. So those permissions still apply in the file storage area. And in fact, behind the scenes, we're not even storing PDF files. Whenever anyone clicks on a PDF link on the website, it's being recreated from the database. And that's a security measure, because if we just kept a server with lots of PDF files on it, that's a lot easier for a bad actor to get to, as opposed to a database, an encrypted database, which requires the program to run in order to extract the information in a relevant format. So it's actually just as secure as anywhere else on the website, but it's there for convenience. It's you don't have to go through the taxes area, which for anyone other than the treasurer can be a confusing place to be poking around. In this case, the taxes are here. So it's a service, it's a convenience for your fellow club members. Now, we also have another folder called the Free Resources from myICLUB folder. This includes the user guide for myICLUB. It includes our year-end audit procedures worksheet. It includes our ebook on free myICLUB user tips that you can download. It includes our ebook about starting an investment club, which has a lot of great ideas, and that's in PDF and EPUB format. So those are included at no charge. They're free, and we're expect to be adding to that library as we go with some more educational resources. So that's also there. You can't delete that library, just like you can't delete the taxes library, but it doesn't count towards your actual size limit, these files, and they're available to everyone. All investment clubs have access to this free resources library. So that is that function. So now, if you have any questions, I see that Marianne asks if an amended return is filed, are both the original and amended returns stored? In that case, no. If you regenerate your tax returns, we don't save the original PDF. So if you ever do amend your return, in theory, you would have an electronic PDF that you would download it. And so it might be a good idea for the treasurer to save those, because your amended return would not include, would override it. I'm pretty sure about that. Maybe Russell or Sean have some contrary information, but I think that I'm pretty sure that we don't save that amended return, and maybe or the original term when you amend it, but that might be a good something that we can add at a future date. Yeah, so again, a lot of great ideas. All right, I'm making a note. Marianne asks if both the state and federal returns are saved. I believe that the answer is yes. So as long as they've been generated in myICLUB, whether it's a federal or state return, they are archived in that taxes area. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions coming in, so hopefully this has been helpful to you and will help you to maximize your usage of the myICLUB website. I like clubs to, I always think it's a great idea for clubs to go digital to reduce paperwork, but that also means that you need to have a system for storing all of those digital files, and so the file storage area has grown to accommodate that. Hello, Russell, what do you have to say?
Oh, I was just, as you were going through about different types of files that you can store, you mentioned broker bank statements. And we'll be covering this later in the year because of some things that came up with some fraud in a club. So, but I would encourage people to put broker statements and bank statements in there. That's one way to help prevent fraud, is that everyone can see the statements, and that makes it really easy for everyone to see the statements, and you can check that against your records.
Yeah, that's a great. That is a terrific, terrific reminder. Again, our belief at ICLUBcentral is that clubs should operate in a transparent fashion, which means there's really nothing that members shouldn't be able to see in a typical investment club of 10, 12, 15, 20 members. There are no privileged documents that only officers really get to see. And so everyone should have the right and the ability to see the transactions in the accounting, to see account statements, et cetera. And so I think that you should in your own clubs be thinking of how to accommodate that. Bonnie says, I mentioned that the financial, the transaction data in myICLUB is downloaded separately. Yes, that's in the utility section. You can export the data from myICLUB, and you can also save it in our backup manager. And we've covered this in our webinars a couple of different ways. We've done a webinar about preparing for disasters in your club, where we talk about the need for doing your own backup, and we've also covered it on its own in webinars about backing up data. If we flip over to myICLUB in the accounting section, if we scroll down in utilities, there's two things that you need to be aware of. One is the backup manager, which is right here. This allows you to make a backup that's stored on the myICLUB website in your account. And then as you scroll down at the bottom of the page, you will see the export accounting records. They do the same thing. If you can use the backup manager and then save that file to your computer, or you can use the export and save that file to your computer. But the backup manager's got I'll show you that. Let me just show you. We'll click into the backup manager, and you can see here that I have, in this case, there are 14 backups that go back to 2004. So this is a test club. This is not real data. But the idea is that each one of these, if I click on this file, I can save it to my computer. The backup manager itself has the transaction data. The file storage area has the files data. And so in this case, these backups are here. We can recover right from here if you do make a mistake, if you were entering transactions. I like to give an example. Maybe you've got a complicated merger or spin-off transaction, and it's got fractional shares, and some of the shares were sold, and there's a stock split involved as well, and then there's a new company that was created, and those can be very complicated. Russell does a great job of creating instructions for those when they happen, but it's entirely conceivable that you start doing it and you think, wait, did I did I do this right already? Did I do this other step first? And then you try to delete, and before you know it, you've messed things up so bad that you're not sure where to go to get things right again. So when you've got or maybe you've got a withdrawal as well, that maybe there's a complicated withdrawal that you haven't done before. I always suggest come to the backup manager, create a backup right here, make a backup, click the button. It takes a couple of seconds, and once you've clicked that button and made the backup, now I've got a backup as of this minute. Anything I do after this minute, if I mess it up in the next hour, all I have to do is come back here and I can recover this 6/18/2019 backup, and it's even got the time in it, 9:41:10 p.m. Eastern time, and I can recover that file, and that puts me right back to where I was before I got into the mess, and then I can try again. All right, so that's just a very tangible example of what we suggest to do. We also suggest, you don't need to make a backup every month, but maybe once a quarter, definitely once a year after you finalized your books for the year, maybe it's a good idea to make a backup. The backup protects your club from your mistakes and what you might do as users in your club, what your club administrator might do late one night when he or she's not thinking clearly. What we do on our end is we have redundant backup and a redundant data storage array, so that if lightning strikes our our server facility, and somehow it gets through all of the filters and all of the power surge protectors, and it fries one of our servers, that we can restore from a backup and be up and running. Maybe in a few hours, maybe in a day, but we protect the customer's data that way. So there are two different things, two different types of protection that you need to account for. If you make a big mistake, or if you accidentally delete your current file, or you overwrite your data with a backup that's 6 months old, and now you're missing 6 months of data, that's not something that we can restore from. So that's what the backup manager is meant to do. So again, we've covered this before, but I do think it's really important that you think about this as part of your regular operations and backup strategy. Esther has a good question. Can we set up an automatic backup? Well, as it turns out, if you haven't backed up in a while, we will do it for you. But we like you to do it on your own. And again, we don't want you to do it every month. You don't need to. That's a lot of space that you're taking up on the server. And some of these, you can, as you look through here, there's probably not a lot of difference between some of these data files, September from July, right? These are actually even the same size. So I could delete one of those, kind of clean it up after, you don't need monthly backups once you close out the year. So I would just keep that in mind and try to build it into your routine. Russell.
Yeah. Oh, I have a slightly different take. I do make up backups very frequently. Maybe not recently, but I would usually every month make a backup. But then I do delete older ones. So there's only like 10 of them in the backup manager at one time. But I do try to make one about every month, just to be sure.
Got it. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everybody once again for coming out tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you next month, but please reach out if you've got any questions about myICLUB or any of the iClub tools. You can reach me at my email there on the screen, or also on the iClub.com website. You can always send us feedback and reach our customer support center. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Sean. And thanks to all of you. I hope you're all enjoying your summer, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month.